We are here at St. Ignatius Parish, where Loyola Television mourns Father Charles Chilinda. My name is Mangala Chakalashi, and I'm joined by...
My name is Louisiana Lupumbo, and of course we are coming to you live from St. Ignatius Catholic Parish right here in Lusaka, where people are actually turning out in numbers to come and pay their last respect, and of course at the same time they're also coming in to lay their wreaths. It is a very sad moment and a very bad, day for the Catholic, the Catholic churches in Zambia and worldwide. And as much as we continue celebrating the life of the late Father Charles Chilinda, it is definitely a sad moment for Loyola production and television, as well as the entire Catholic churches.
Okay, I think now we ask choir to continue singing before we can actually get into the program. I know that Father Chilinda was actually admitted to Coptic Hospital on Wednesday, and his death was confirmed by Superior Father Leonard Chiti. He was later moved to Maina Soko, where he died due to complications brought about by COVID-19.
Exactly.
So we will ask the 11:30 choir to continue singing for us as we continue with this very solemn program.
Exactly.
niwampere wa Chilinda we muchindami kabili wawela wasenda chimwelenganya leka mutashawe tata niwe mulokwe leka mutashawe tata niwe wine leka mutashawe tata we muchindami leka mutashawe tata
But I think for the country, we have lost a gallant soldier, one person that lived and believed in the principle of love beyond any measure.
Exactly, Mangala. You know, I also can't believe that I'm standing on this podium, you know, behind people that are laying wreaths and talking about Father Chilinda in such a way. I didn't see this coming personally, and this is a very emotional moment for us as, you know, as Loyola employees, as well as Loyola employees, and of course, you know, the Catholic Church at large. This is a very sad moment. But nevertheless, we continue to celebrate his life. He was a man for the people, and this is a person who is to spread the word of love. You know, everybody should always remember him in that way. He's a man who used to speak peace, you know, in people's lives. And this is actually a very sad moment, but we always remember Father Chilinda to be a very good person. Do you also remember that Father Chilinda's smile was always contagious?
It was very contagious. I remember when we walked in the office every time, his smile was so contagious. And he's been described by many as a peacemaker and as a unifier. Louisa, what do we have on the program?
All right, so right about now we do have Elena Piri, who is actually on standby, and she will be interviewing Mr. Elias Mpondela just to hear more what kind of a relationship Mr. Mpondela had with, you know, the late Father Charles Chilinda, and later on we'll continue with the program. So for now, let's cross over to Elena Piri as she interviews Mr. Elias Mpondela.
Right, thank you so much, Louisa. We're still live here at St. Ignatius Parish, where people have turned out in numbers to lay wreaths in honor of the late Father Charles Chilinda. With me is Mr. Elias Mpondela, who is the Zambia Amateur Athletics Association president and a parishioner here. Mr. Mpondela, welcome to this interview.
Thank you.
How would you describe Father Chilinda?
Well, Father Chilinda was a self-donation to the church, self-donation to the country, and a self-donation to the parish. All of us felt him. His presence was, it's like somebody who is not a priest, but a priest who is available and present to you. You felt him. When I say self-donation, I mean, when you thought there was a problem, for him there was no problem. Everything was possible. He didn't see or feel that people must be troubled. And so, like Jesus, he was always looking for a solution. You remember when Jesus, people asked, can we send them away? You remember those 5,000 people? And he said, no, give them what you want to give. And that's what he was. He always found something that he can give to the poor, to the sick, the feeding problem, was an incredible program that started low and built up. To the politicians, unity and peace. To us here as a church here, the St. Ignatius here, he was a uniter. He was all over. And so his passing on creates such a vacuum that is difficult to emulate. But for me, as a parishioner here and his friend, same grounding from Lubushe Seminary, although he came much later, are those things that he started doing, like feeding program. You look at the Loyola production. Look at the faith here, his engagement. Look at how many people can't speak in hospitals that he went to give to. Those are things that we want to honestly record them. And some of us must represent Father Chilinda. He must not die. Just like Jesus did not die, we still talk about him today. Okay, so Father Chilinda's life must live on through all of us that experienced him, through all of us that he touched, and those who touched him.
Okay, how do you think Father Chilinda would want to be remembered?
Well, I think Father Chilinda, look, he said, you love. The measure of love is to love without measure. The measure of love is to love without measure. And so, we saw it in church here. This here was not talking to, GBM. The president, the late President Mwanawasa, just right here, is, our Kambwili, and so that's the man that in the back room, in the engine room, all you conceptualize was, how can I bring the country together? At the church here was, how can I bring resources together? In the hospital, how can I make those people at Christmas feel they are part of the community? These are things that he loved. For the small youth choir, he started it. I mean, Lady Father Chilinda wants to be remembered by continued love that he gave. The freely, freely you have received, freely, freely give. Go in my name, and because you believe, and others will know. That is where we want to continue touching the people he touched, and even beyond it, so that when he looks down and said, well, I am happy that my people that I touched have continued touching other people. So he was a beacon of light in the darkness of many people. We would like to continue to be a beacon of light in other people's darkness.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Mpondela. There you have it. It's almost impossible to talk about Father Chilinda without talking about love and peace. He loved to create peace and love wherever he went. Okay, so for now, I take you back to Mangala.
Okay, thank you very much. So we've just heard from Mr. Mpondela, who was not only a parishioner here at St. Ignatius, but who was rather very close to Father Chilinda.
He was indeed very close to the Chilinda, and everyone is describing Father Chilinda to be a man who loved everyone. This is a very emotional moment, but maybe just to give a brief background about the late Father Chilinda. He was born on the 29th of October 1965, and he also joined the Society of Jesus on 19th May 1985, and he was ordained on the 21st of July 2001. He made his final vows in May, on the 27th in 2006. And unfortunately, Father Chilinda died on the 21st of January 2021. We are talking about last week, Mwangala. This is, his death came in as a very shocking death to almost everyone. It was a shock because people were calling and saying, Louisa, was Father Chilinda sick or something? So people were really shocked, and they are very devastated. This is a very hard time for the entire Catholic Church, and also his family as well, and the Loyola production as well as Loyola Television at large. And remember, Father Chilinda was the founder of Loyola Productions.
Oh yes, which later gave birth to Loyola Television.
Exactly.
Here we are now. Now, Father Chilinda was not only a priest, not only was he in the media circles, but a lot of people knew him for having passion for the poor people, for the less privileged. I remember he was running a feeding program where he used to feed all the hospitals in Zambia. Mm-hmm. And joining us now, we have Brenda, who used to work very closely with late Father Chilinda. It doesn't even feel right to say late Father Chilinda.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel right, Mwangala. But, death is death, and unfortunately, we have to say it like that. We have, looking at the situation. But for now, let's cross over to Tela Hazinji as she, runs an interview with Brenda. Over to you, Tela.
Thank you so much, Mwangala and Louisa. Of course, joining us live from St. Ignatius Parish right here in Lusaka, where people from different walks of life have come here to pay their last respect by wreath laying on the grotto. Now, with me here is Brenda Walia, who was part of the feeding program here at St. Ignatius, which was being headed by Father Charles Chilinda. She will tell us more about how this feeding program started. Brenda?
Okay. Good morning, all. Father Charles had a vision where he wanted to give back to the community, and especially those that were in hospital during the Christmas time. And his thought process was that some of these people are unable to go home, and the caregivers have traveled far. So he wanted us to provide even a decent meal or a good meal and celebrate Christmas with him. So the first time this happened was just in one ward, and we just collected funds together and went into one ward. Then in 2016, we sat down together with Father Chilinda, and we decided and looked at how do we expand this program. And that was the first year that we actually targeted 2 hospitals. That was the whole of UTH, and we brought on Levy and Chanama hospitals. And going forward, it grew. By 2019, we were actually feeding 4 hospitals all in one day, and including Mtendere Mission Hospital, where we were actually supporting them on the Christmas day. Any excess that remained after the feeding program, we took it into the various charity homes. And that's how basically the brainchild was born. Yes.
Okay, wow. So, what was his attitude? What was Father Chilinda's attitude like, I mean, with regards to the feeding program?
I mean, he was passionate about it. And on the days where would be cooking, would be at UTH like at 5 o'clock in the morning, and would have previously left UTH and the other hospitals ensuring preparations were done, maybe towards midnight. But when it came on the day, and if you see some of the clips and the videos that we took with him, he was very involved with the cooking and engaging people. And also, we never forgot the spiritual side of things. And he would actually organize priests to come through so that they also fed the souls of the people that were there. But when you talked about his passion, I mean, on the 2019 feeding program, I can give you an example. We actually differed because I wanted the patients to have a choice of either a fish or chicken or meat or fish. He wanted every plate to have everything that had been cooked. So for him, it was, we've come here to change their lives, to give them one day. So let's ensure that they get everything. So that's how passionate he was about it. And he would work in 1 year, I remember, whilst we were at the feeding program, he had a patient at UTH who died during the cooking process. He never left us until we fed everybody and we assured all the hospitals were running on time. And that's when he said, Brenda, now let me go and take care of the bereavement that I have. That is how involved he was. And I think the key thing that he left with us was all of us to be of service, because that's what God wants us to do. So all the team members in the committee were all volunteers. And all of us came because he wanted us to be of service. And the key Bible verse he always read to us and reminded us was Matthew chapter 25, verses 35 to 40. You know, when you look after your brother, my brother's keeper. That was always his theme.
Okay, so what do you think motivated him to start this feeding program?
I think for him is the main motivation was to make a difference, to be there, to be my brother's keeper. And that is what God wants us all to be my brother's keeper. Not just as families because I know you, but to each and every individual, even the ones that you don't know. You have to be your brother's keeper.
Okay, so finally, what happens now that he's no more? Are you going to continue this feeding program, or would also be on hold?
No, nothing comes to a halt. And I think God in his infinite wisdom started preparing us. And the reason why I say that, in 2019, I remember complaining to Father Charles, and I said, you're not attending our meetings, we're preparing, I need you, you're always my right-hand man, you know what I mean, as the chair. And he told me, Brenda, you don't need me. You guys can run this without me. And that was like a year ago. What we didn't know was God was preparing us. And that year, the committee and I rose to the occasion. Yes, we did call upon him, but for him, it was, this program is not about me. Whether I'm here or not, it needs to continue. And us, as a committee of the feeding program, our promise to the parish and to the people that we support is we will continue with it. The first one is going to be hard because there'll be one key member who's not going to be there. But he has instilled and cultivated in us the spirit of service. And that is what we'll live by, to serve those that God wants us to serve. So that is our plan, to continue and soldier on.
All right, thank you so much, Brenda. So there you have it. That was Brenda Wadia, St. Ignatius Feeding Program Chairperson. It was headed by Father Charles Chilinda. Now I'll take you back to Louisa and Mongala.
So that was Brenda. I know that she worked very closely with Father Chilinda for all the feeding programs. And that's one project that I never thought actually that would take off. But Father was very convinced that he could do it. And we saw him do it in 2 years consecutively. He fed all the sick in Levy, in UTH, and at the other hospitals, including the prisoners. I mean, he fed the prisoners. He actually said
I did in a very big port, and I did that video. It actually went viral, and people were spreading it out in order to, to actually just show, to say this is how Father Chilinda was. And I remember you're also watching us live from Loyola television, right here from St. Ignatius Parish, right here in Lusaka. We are also streaming live on Facebook as well as YouTube. That is Loyola Television Zambia. You can actually watch the proceedings live. Just about now, we turn back to the choirs and let's just see what the choirs has for us right now.
Kaya napitana ya kwatika shimi na mwichi wato palibemba napitana ya kwatika shimi na mwichi wato palibemba
So, Louisa, we've just witnessed Loyola staff laying their wreath. Now, I'm sure people are wondering the simplicity of how he did it, because that's what he stood for and that's what he always said. He said, if you want to give me a flower, give me one flower. And that's what Loyola just did. We remember he said, that's how simple he was. He was not very complicated. And we've honored him in such a manner.
In a very simple way, because that was, how he defined himself, a man who was very simple but loved by so many. And of course, a man who was very simple but still managed to reach out to so many people. And yet he was just a man who was full of love and smile and laughter and everything. So we continue remembering the late Father Charles Chilinda, and we are coming to you live from St. Ignatius Parish right here in Lusaka. In case you've just tuned in, these are the proceedings, as much as we continue mourning the late Father Charles Chilinda. You are actually watching us live on Loyola Television as well as Facebook and YouTube. That is Loyola Television. You can actually check out the proceedings on Loyola TV. Just about now, Erin Apiri is ready to actually do an interview with the executive director for Loyola Television, who is Father Patrick Mulemi. So just now we're crossing over to Erin Apiri as she interviews Father Mulemi.
All right, thank you so much, Louisa and Mangala. Viewers at home, I'm now joined by Father Patrick Mulemi, who is the Loyola Television director and also happens to have known Father Chilinda for 27 years. Father Mulemi, welcome to this interview.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now, in the past few days, people have described Father Chilinda differently. Some say he was a unifier, he was a peacemaker, he was passionate about the work of God. How would you describe Father Chilinda?
He was all of that. All those things that people are saying, that's Father Chilinda. It's difficult to describe him as one thing. He was larger than life. He was present to people everywhere. He was a passionate man, passionate about two things in life, really. He was passionate about the media. He was passionate about his priesthood. And so because of his priesthood, passion for his priesthood, he was always present to everybody, to anybody, to all kinds of people. He always made himself available to people that wanted his services.
Okay, now in the 27 years that you have known Father Chilinda, what would you say was his greatest desire?
His greatest desire was to see people around him be happy. He didn't want any sadness around him. He wanted people to celebrate life. He wanted people to rejoice. And one other thing perhaps that I could add about Father Charles is he loved this country passionately, deeply. I mean, like many Jesuit priests, he went to different countries for different things, but he always wanted to come back home. He had this deep desire to see Zambia develop. He did everything possible, whatever he could do to bring development to this country. He did his part. In the 27 years that I've known him, That's the kind of person that I've known. Passionate about the Jesuits, passionate about this country, always desiring to come back home. It didn't matter whether he was in America, in England, wherever, he always wanted to come back home.
Okay, and finally, would you share with us the fondest memory you have of Father Chilinda?
You know, so the past few years I've been working with him at Loyola. Him as director of Loyola Productions, myself as director of Loyola Television. We've been working together very well. One of the things I can say is, one of the things I will miss is every morning, every time he came into the office, usually I arrived a few minutes before him. He would walk through the door. I'll be in my office, and the first thing he says, he would call my name out. You know, he would be like, "Mulemi, come down, let's talk." That's one of the things that I will miss about him. So, you know, I was in the office this morning. I was in the office yesterday. I just get in there. I feel like I'm going to hear his voice, you know, calling me to say, let's do this, let's work on that, and whatever. I just miss him as a man, as a friend, as a colleague, as a fellow Jesuit, as a fellow priest. I miss so many things about him. He was larger than life.
All right, viewers, so there you have it. A people's pacing. He might be gone, but he'll never be forgotten. I move back to Mangala and Louisia.
Thank you very much. I mean, we've just heard from Loyola Television director, Father Mulemi, who was very, very close to Father Chilinda. I remember they used to call themselves, "We are the two crazy priests,"
Yes.
with a big dream.
Exactly.
And their dream.
And that word, big dream, those two words, they were always on their mouths, on their lips, exactly. And you know, Mwangala, I can imagine these two knew each other for over 27 years. Imagine how Father Patrick Mulemi actually felt when he heard of his death, you know, and 25 years is not really a small number, I must say.
I mean, it was way beyond brother. I think they were more than brothers.
Brothers, yes.
And I think the best thing that we can do at Loyola together with Father Mulemi is to ensure that Father Chilinda's legacy lives on.
Exactly. We
continue with what he
building
believed
the dream, exactly, that Father Chilinda always preached about. And just a reminder, you know, COVID-19 is real. Make sure you sanitize. Make sure you actually practice social distance, mask up. Like you can see me and Mangala actually masking up. So make sure you adhere to all the health guidelines in order for you and me to stay safe. Remember, if you are safe, you're also protecting me as a member. Right about now, we're crossing back to the choirs as they continue gracing us with some songs. Right,
Thank you
as
so
as we are
much,
waiting
Louisia
for
and
the
Mangala.
choirs to actually,
Joining
continue
me right
gracing
now
this,
is Mr. Edwin Mulenga and Mrs. Dorothy Mwansa.
Mangala, what
He's just
is
going
it
to tell
that
us
you
more
remember about
Father Chilinda, related with different kinds of people. So I'll start with you, Mrs. Mwansa. How was the relationship like with Father Chilinda?
Father Chilinda was like a family to me. Father Chilinda looked after my children, especially after I lost my husband. Father Chilinda was always there for me and for my children. Father Chilinda he never segregated anybody. He was for the poor, he was for the rich people. He was even for the mad people, especially at church. He helped everybody. He was called at any time and he could do. Whether he was sick or not, he could still go and help those people. Father Chilinda is not just a priest, but a father to all.
Okay, so what legacy has Father Chilinda left behind?
Father Chilinda has helped us to love one another, to forgive one another, to help one another. It's something that somebody can, I don't know how somebody can explain it. It's something that we have to live with it. As a parish, as families, we have to forgive, we have to love, we have to help. Yes.
Okay, and finally, how would you describe his relationship with different kinds of people?
Yeah, as I said before, Father Chilinda loved everybody. Yes. He helped everybody. Anybody could come to Father Chilinda for any help. He could come here, ask for Father Chilinda. Father Chilinda will be there for him. Whether he's in church, at home, he will still go for this person. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Mrs. Masa. Now I turn to Mr. Edwin Mulenga, who's going to also tell us a bit more about his experience with Father Chilinda. Mr. Edwin?
Thank you so much. Father Chilinda was a very selfless priest. He loved to serve the ministry of God, whether it was through the feeding program, the pastoral work at the parish, or his work at Loyola. He was very passionate about that and ensured that everyone who came in contact with him through those activities that he treasured so much was happy and expressed themselves and showed talent. To borrow the words of Father Jokini, when we sent him a lot of messages passing our condolences to him, he said Father Chilinda was the most talented and generous Jesuit that he ever lived with. And we can testify to that indeed he was talented. It's hard to express in words the things that Father Chilinda did for all of us. I remember 2008, just here at this parish, he blessed our marriage, and he didn't leave it there. He continued checking on us as a couple. Even when we experienced challenges, we knew that we can call upon Father Chilinda anytime and to be able to give us counsel and guide us in everything. I remember on Wednesday when he was admitted, I just noticed, because I used to spend quite a lot of time with him, I noticed that he was quiet and it was unlike Father Chilinda. So after Mass on Wednesday, I called him. He used to answer his phone in a certain way. He would always start by saying, Edwin, Shan. That day he just said, hello. And I said, Father, are you okay? Nabanteka. I wasn't breathing properly. And I told him, let me not keep you away from the oxygen. I'll text you in the morning to find out how you're doing. I didn't know that today we'll be standing here saying our goodbyes or paying tribute to Father Chilinda. It's not a person. You would never put death and Father Chilinda in the same sentence. It's
okay.
We'll remember him for everything that he's done for us, and we'll endeavor to ensure that all the programs that he started, in one way or the other, we contribute to ensure that his legacy lives on, whether it's a feeding program, with supporting Loyola production, supporting all the activities, including the people that he was helping, the school children, the orphans that he was paying for. It's upon all of us here to actually ensure that that legacy lives on.
Okay, thank you, Edwin. So how would you like Father Chilinda to be remembered?
Through his works? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Father Chilinda wanted everyone to be happy. Mm-hmm. He never wanted where there's difficulties, people are fighting. He would actually pick up the phone and call people, bring them together. Many times you saw politicians coming here, uniting them, ensuring. He loved this country so much. He never wanted this country to be put on fire by politicians. And that's the reason why he related with every politician, be it in the ruling party, the opposition, to ensure that there's peace in this country. So we need to live by those works of Father Chilinda, the peace that he wanted so much, the joy that he wanted so much in people, the love that he wanted for every human being. He didn't need to know you. You didn't need to be Catholic for Father Chilinda to reach out to you. You just needed to be a human being.
All right, thank you so much. So there you have it. That is a man, a preacher of love and a man full of generosity. That is what best describes Father Chilinda. So I'll take you back to Mwangala and Louisa. Thank you.
So there we have it, Louisa. That was the chairperson of the parish, chairperson Mr. Eddie Mulenga, and the chairperson for Uwomba, Miss Dorothy Mwanza, giving a very touching tribute. These are the people that work very, very closely with Father Chilinda. You can only imagine what they're going through now.
You know, this is actually a sad moment, you know, for everyone, like as mentioned earlier. You know, everyone was touched, with the demise of the late Father Charles Chilinda. And in as much as this man was very generous, he was very generous to a lot of people, you know, regardless of your background, and that this is and also used to sort out political conflicts, and
bring
Yes,
presidents
politicians
together,
together,
for
exactly.
reconciliation.
Mhm.
And he mingled with the topmost right up to the grassroots of this country. And for him, he would just fit in easily like that. And
Yeah.
that's a man that we are here to mourn as Loyola Television. I know it's not just Loyola Television that is mourning him, but it's the country at large, and obviously way beyond the borders of Zambia.
Exactly.
Well, what do we have on the program?
All right, right about now, Father Clive Edilion Malone is actually ready to be interviewed about of course, let's just hear, the relationship they had with Father Edilion as well as the late Father Charles Chilinda. For now, let's cross over to Taylor Hazinji, and we'll be right back.
All right, thank you so much, Louisia and Mangala. There with me here right now is Father Clive Malone, who was Father Chilinda's housemate. Now, welcome to this interview, Father. And can you just briefly share with us your experience living with Father Chilinda?
Well, first of all, I've been living with Father Chilinda for many, many years in the same community. And Father Chilinda, they say everybody is replaceable. But I can say it's going to be very difficult to replace Father Chilinda because he was involved in so many different things. If there's one word I was asked to sum up Father Chilinda, I would say the word is service. He was an extraordinarily self-giving person, always available to people in need. And when I say available, I mean not just during the day, but at night time he always left his phone open. And people would phone him during the night for some tragedy or some death, and immediately he would rise, he would go to the hospital or go to where the accident had happened, just available at all times, totally self-giving, an extraordinarily generous person.
Okay, so how would you describe a typical day like for him?
Well, a typical day, he rose very early in the morning. And I was often amazed at how he managed with so little sleep, because often he would be up during the night helping people, going to places where an accident had happened. And then he'd still rise early in the morning, but he had that extraordinary energy, So he was always smiling, thing that amazed me. No matter what happened, he was always smiling, cheerful. And I would say he's a person who loved life. He literally loved life, because life was exciting. Everything that happened was exciting for him. And he loved telling stories. We'd sit with him in community, and there was nearly always a chance for him to tell stories. There was never a lull in conversation. And he enjoyed telling the stories. He lived his stories. In fact, he would laugh more than anybody else when he was telling his stories. He was so much caught up in his memory of stories that happened, So we always had that enjoyment of just listening to him.
Okay, so how would you like him to be remembered? What legacy has he left behind?
Well, I'd like him to be remembered as, of course, as a man of God. I'd say, first of all, our founder, St. Ignatius, says we should find God in all things. Now, I say Father Chilinda found God mostly in people. He related so well with people, and he literally sensed God's presence in everybody. Whether it be the rich or the poor, he related to everybody in that way that he saw God in those people. And his generosity always came out. In many ways, he was too generous because people took advantage of him, They knew he was generous, and they'd come to him for all kinds of things. And because he was so available, people would always turn to him. If there was a death, say, in a family, among the religious congregations, especially the sisters' congregations, he was the first person they would contact because they knew he was always available. And he knew exactly what was to be done. The thing that amazed me about Father Chilinda was his range of contacts. He seemed to know everybody. And then what amused me often is he'd say, oh, so-and-so is my relation, and so-and-so is my because of the extended family, he seemed to have contact with relations everywhere. And this meant that whenever a problem came up in our community, immediately he was on the phone, and very quickly the problem would be resolved because he knew who to contact. So he was very quick on solving problems. That's why I say we as a community are facing a very sad loss, and one that will be very difficult to replace.
All right, thank you so much. So there you have it. That was Father Clive Malone, Father Chilinda's housemate. He has described him as a man who is ever available, a problem solver, a generous man, and a man of peace and love. So I'll take you back to Mwangala and Louisa.
Okay, so there we have it. That was Father Dillon. Now, one thing that probably most people don't know that Father Chilinda was actually called Martha. He used to take care of the welfare of the priests in his home. So he's the one who used to make sure that they have the groceries and they have the food. So that was just a tribute coming in from Father Dillon, who I'm sure will miss Father Chilinda. They lived together for a very long time.
They were housemates.
They were housemates, and indeed he mentioned to say he's known Father Chilinda for a very long time.
Exactly. All right, so we continue celebrating the life of the late Father Chilinda, and we are coming to you live from St. Ignatius Catholic Parish right here in Lusaka. And in case you have just tuned in, we are live on Facebook as well as YouTube, that is Loyola Television Zambia. And just a reminder, like everybody who's coming here to lay wreaths, they're only spending not more than 2 minutes, because we're trying to observe, COVID-19, as well as, the issue of practicing social distance and making sure that we adhere to all the precautionary measures that have been put in place by the by the Ministry of Health. Remember, COVID-19 is not a hoax, it is very real, so make sure that we do the needful. All right, so just right I think Father Dillon will be actually laying his wreath very soon, and will be witnessing that. And so we continue celebrating the life of Father Chilinda Mangala.
Oh yes, and we have the choir. I mean, these are people that he loved so much.
Exactly.
They're here with us today.
We have to cross over to the choirs as they continue gracing us with the music.
chilungamo chanu mundilimbise ndikundipulumusa muchele kutulanu kwa ine ndikundipulumusa osata chilungamo chanu mundilimbise ndikundipulumusa muchele kutulanu kwa ine ndikundipulumusa yawe yawe nditawile kwa inu ambuye ndisachite manyazi tawi zonse yawe yawe nditawile kwa inu ambuye ndisachite manyazi tawi zonse mukale tandwela ngalo tawilamo ndikundipulumusa chifukwa tandwela nundi chembo langa ndinu mukale tandwela ngalo tawilamo ndikundipulumusa chifukwa tandwela nundi chembo langa ndinu yawe yawe nditawile kwa inu ambuye ndisachite manyazi tawi zonse yawe yawe nditawile kwa inu ambuye ndisachite manyazi tawi zonse alipompano ambuye Yesu ambuye alipompano ambuye Yesu alipompano ambuye Yesu ambuye alipompano ambuye Yesu ambuye alipompano ambuye ambuye Yesu ambuye alipompano ambuye Yesu ambuye alipompano ambuye ambuye Yesu ambuye alipompano ambuye Yesu amatikonda ambuye Yesu ambuye amatikonda ambuye Yesu amatikonda ambuye Yesu ambuye amatikonda ambuye Yesu ambuye amatikonda ambuye ambuye Yesu ambuye amatikonda ambuye Yesu ambuye amatikonda ambuye ambuye Yesu ambuye amatikonda ambuye Yesu amatilimbisa ambuye Yesu ambuye amatilimbisa ambuye Yesu amatilimbisa ambuye Yesu ambuye amatilimbisa ambuye Yesu ambuye amatilimbisa ambuye ambuye Yesu ambuye amatilimbisa ambuye Yesu ambuye amatilimbisa ambuye ambuye Yesu ambuye amatilimbisa ambuye Yesu timtokoze ambuye Yesu ambuye timtokoze ambuye Yesu timtokoze ambuye Yesu ambuye timtokoze ambuye Yesu ambuye timtokoze Iwe Yesu
So there you
aubako.
have it, Louisia. We've been entertained by the choir singing some of the hymns that Father Chilinda really loved.
Exactly, and we have messages from different walks of life coming to pay their last respect, as well as laying wreaths, in honor of the late Father Charles Chilinda. We have seen quite a number of people, coming in, and this just shows that people honor him, and they still feel the impact of his death, and of course just how he was himself, the way he carried himself, to different people.
He was a hero.
He was.
Everybody loved him. Everybody related to him, and he had this ability to relate with almost everybody. Anybody. Now I know Taylor Piri is standing by to talk to the 11:30 choir chairperson, Miss Marjorie Mumba, and one of the parishioners, Mrs. Monde Woods. We now cross over to Taylor Piri, who is going to talk to the two.
It is Elena Piri.
Elena Piri.
Yes, Elena, take it over.
All right, thank you so much, Louisa and Mwangala. Now, because Father Chilinda was a people person, he's someone who made comfortable around him. People are eager to share some of the fond memories they have with him. Now, with me is Marjorie Mumba, who is the 11:30 choir chairperson, and on the other side, I have Monde Wood, who is a St. Ignatius parishioner. I'll start with Mrs. Mumba. Mrs. Mumba, welcome to this interview.
Thank you very much.
Okay, how would you describe Father Chilinda worked with the 11:30 hours choir?
Okay, Father Chilinda he loved music. He loved to sing. So with all the choirs at St. Ignatius, I don't only speak on behalf of the 11:30, but all the other choirs, the 8:15, which is singing for us here now, and all the other choirs, the youth choirs, he really loved to, when he was presiding over the Eucharist in the Mass, he would always want us to sing, to be jovial, and always be able to communicate with God. And that's how we would like to remember him as a choir. He will really greatly be missed, because he really did mentor us as choirs, and you'd always bring joy to the choirs whenever we met.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Mumba. Now I move to Mrs. Hood, who is going to describe the kind of working relationship they had with Father Chilinda. Mrs. Wood.
We did a lot of work with Father Charles Chilinda. I think I would first of all maybe begin with the individually guided retreats. As you know, St. Ignatius is a Jesuit parish, and we follow the Ignatian spirituality. He helped me a lot in giving me a lot of material when he knew that I was an individually guided prayer guide in the parish. And also, secondly, we did what I would call the hidden work of Christ within the parish. Father Charles, once he came across couples who were going through difficult moments in their marriages, he would first of all talk to them what God wants out of them in marriage. And then he would now refer them to us to look at them, journey with them through their difficult moments, until when we are happy that they can go back to their homes as a happy couple. So we did this hidden work, which I think a lot of people never knew, but that's the work, that's what really connected us together with Father Charles.
Okay, thank you very much, viewers. Now I turn back to Mrs. Mumba, who will share with us the role Father Chilinda played here at St. Ignatius.
Okay, so Father Chilinda was really a people person. He guided us spiritually and mentally. And I think just to emphasize that is why, as the 11:30 hours choir, one of our members actually came up with the idea that we have put up a place where people can come and show their respect, pay their respect, and also just to remember him. And that's why we put up this pop-up at the grotto. And even when we were putting up this pop-up at the grotto as 11:30 hours choir, we thought, okay, the grotto, after we had put it up, then we realized it is actually the grotto with Mary, Queen of Peace. And that's what Father Chilinda was. He was a peacemaker. He brought peace wherever he came, wherever he passed. He was somebody who preached peace in his in his sermons, and he is also one person who always shared peace wherever he went. So for us as a choir, we thought this is the best way we could honor him and let parishioners know that there's a place they can go and cry, there's a place they can go and pray, there's a place they can go and remember him, and hence that's why we put up the place where people are coming to pay their last respects.
Thank you very much. I move back to Mrs. Wood, who I'm going to ask how she thinks Father Chilinda would like to be remembered. Mrs. Wood, how do you think Father Chilinda would like to be remembered?
I think Father Chilinda will be remembered by many couples, as I said earlier on, as a person who brought peace in marriages, as a person who was a counselor in marriages, as a person who encouraged all of us couples to know what marriage is all about. And also, I think to me as a person in my individual capacity, he's a priest I always remember. He married off 2 of our children, Monde and Samson Yamalezi. He married off Lulu and Luyando Wood. So there was that family connection, and he encouraged my children always to know who God is, always asking them, I didn't see you last Sunday. What were you doing? Why didn't you come to church? That's what I'll remember about him, as a lover of peace.
Okay, viewers, there you have it. Thank you so much. I was talking to parishioners here at St. Ignatius who were sharing with us some of the fond memories they have of the late Father Charles Chilinda. I take you back to Mangala and Louisa.
Thank you very much, Elena Piri. And there you have it. We were just getting more memories from more people. I remember how Father Chilinda used to say the 11:30 prayer is my prayer, because I can call them the 11th hour. They were still delivering.
Who is coughing?
And also how he was very passionate
Quiet,
about
quickly.
marriage. And I remember that most of the time giving an example of what marriage should be. And he will single out his he will say that for all the young people that are getting married, that should be your benchmark, that should be your bar if you want to ensure that your marriage is good.
Absolutely, Mangala. And we continue, witnessing people that are still paying their last respect to the later Father Chilinda. And you can actually see behind us people continue, paying their last respect as much as they're honoring his legacy. We need to head back to the 11th choir as they continue pressing us with more music. So for now, let's press over and just see what the 11th choir are bringing to us just about now.
Okay. The choir is ready. As you can see. Okay, they're ready.
They're ready now. Okay, so the 11th choir can actually take it up as we continue witnessing.
Navakwila pamumana vakasangwako mwana lesa pakwisa na mapenga yakalila. Navakwila pamumana vakasangwako mwana lesa pakwisa na mapenga yakalila. Navakwila pamumana vakasangwako mwana lesa pakwisa na mapenga yakalila. Imwana lesa imwe mwana lesa pakwisa mumulu mulya na vangeli vakwe mumulu mulya mukuteke sonde lino na mapenga yakalila. Mwana lesa imwe mwana lesa pakwisa mashana mapenga ala chachine imwe ala chachine teufi mumulumulya mukaveni mbosha malumbo mumulumulya elono tumpundu na masha na mapenga yakalila na bachilinda bonse bakasangwako mwana lesa pakwisa na mapenga yakalila na bachilinda bonse bakasangwako mwana lesa pakwisa na mapenga yakalila ala chachine imwe ala chachine teufi mumulumulya mukaveni mbosha malumbo mumulumulya elono tumpundu na masha na mapenga yakalila ala chachine imwe ala chachine teufi mumulumulya mukaveni mbosha malumbo mumulumulya elono tumpundu na masha na mapenga yakalila malinga kutotela kanavesa muno mumwakwe aeya malinga kutotela kanavesa muno mumwakwe aeya kantashelesa wandi mungoma nemyondo isombo na masese na shilile yangu isasa mwale sana tukundu wale aula aea yangu isasa mwale sana tukundu wale aula aea kantashelesa wandi mungoma nemyondo isombo na masese na filile yangu isasa mwale salo tukundu wale aula aea yangu isasa mwale salo tukundu wale aula aea alingo kushanina kanaweza muno mumwakwe aea alingo kushanina kanaweza muno mumwakwe aea kantashelesa wandi mungoma nemyondo isombo na masese na filile yangu isasa mwale sano tumpundu wale aula aea yangu isasa mwale sano tumpundu wale aula aea kantashelesa wandi mungoma nemyondo isombo na masese na filile yangu isasa mwale sano tumbundu wale aula aea yangu isasa mwale sano tumbundu wale aula aea
when I walked into the Loyola television studios, the first thing that Father Chilinda told me was his famous quote, "The true measure of faith." And I asked him, "Father, what do you mean?" He said, "If you want to understand understand and know the meaning of this quote, just watch closely my life, because that's what it represents. And for the last 2 years that I've worked very closely with Father Chilinda, I kept on observing and learning his life. That is actually what his life represented.
Exactly, Mangala. And I must also, testify to say the last few months I've known him. I've known him for less than a year, but I can surely say that he was really a man who managed to make sure that everybody, is smiling, everybody is laughing. No matter the situation, he'd always walk in the newsroom. You'll find us trying to, get ready to go in the field, and he'll be there. You guys bring factual stories, bring everything that you feel like is newsworthy, and everything that will definitely bring a smile, to the people of Zambia. And that's exactly what Father Chilinda, was, and we continue celebrating his life. And he will be laid to rest, on Monday, on the 25th of January, at Kasisi. And of course, that's where all the burial proceedings will actually take place. But later on, we'll be able to tell you more on what will actually transpire on a Monday, on the 25th of January 2021. Right about now, we do have another interview. Taylor Hazinji has some people that she would definitely be interviewing, and right about now she's on standby.
Okay, she's actually talking to the chairpersons for the 10 Hours Choir and the Youth Choir, who also are going to share their memories on what exactly they remember about Father Chilinda. We cut to you.
All right.
All right, thank you so much, Mangala and Louisa. And once again, you're joining us live from St. Ignatius Parish right here in Lusaka. And with me here, I have two St. Ignatius parishioners. That's Mrs. Gertrude Mundia, and from the 10 Hours Choir, and also Patrick Mainza from the Youth Chairperson Choir, from the Youth Choir. So, Mrs. Mundia, can you kindly tell us how did you relate with Father Chilinda?
Very well indeed. It's an honor for me to stand in before you to reveal to our fellow parishioners the relationship that I had with Father Chilinda. First and foremost, at a personal level, he celebrated my last daughter's wedding, so that was very close. And also, as a choir, the 10 Hours Choir, when we were doing very well, he was at our, our side to support us technically, since he had the studio. So he recorded all the functions that we had, especially the concerts that we held. Even when we left our St. Ignatius base, we went to have the concert at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross. He still followed us and gave us tremendous support. And as a person, I think he was a very, very pleasant personality. You couldn't resist saying hello to Father Chilinda. And I admired his courage. The few things that he has intervened with, for instance, there was a breakthrough at the Helena Sapir, and he rushed there single-handedly. And you have to have the guts to go that way alone. Yes, and I think most importantly is when we had, just like other choirs, we had some conflict within the choir. And one thing that he taught us was, we the big girls, we're in the afternoon of our lives, we need to look at issues differently. We should always try to identify elements that divide the choir. Yes, and that he did so well with the regular visits to our choir, trying to find out whether we needed any help, and he would be there to help us, guide us, and I have very, very fond memories of Father Chilinda.
Okay, so how would you describe his attitude, towards music? Was he a music lover?
Oh, he loved music. Yes, he loved music, and got to see how he has equipped his studio, and even the mammoth building that is in Kabulonga. So that tells a lot of story about his passion for this mission.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Mundi. I'll get back to you. Just let me turn to Patrick. So Patrick is a youth chairperson choir. Patrick, how would you best describe Father Chilinda?
Father Chilinda was an old person, but I would say Father Chilinda was a youth at heart, because he had a heart for the youths. I would also talk about these feed the patients and even the prisoners. Father Chilinda would tell you what to do, but he was more of a practical person. He would show you to say, I am there, even when I'm giving you directions, but I'm there. I'm sure I've seen videos circulating of him cooking with the youths, even laughing with them, enjoying the moment. So Father Chilinda was a youth at heart. He really enjoyed being around youths, I'd say.
How would you describe his contribution to the youths at St. Ignatius?
So I'll pick a moment 2 years back or 3 years back. So we had troubles with our keyboard. So we started a fundraiser, but then we couldn't meet our estimated price for the keyboard. So we started looking around for money. But when we involved Father Chilinda was there to say, these guys need your help. So I would say Father Chilinda, in other words, would be a catalyst in some of these fundraisers, because when you involve Father Chilinda, you'd be rest assured that he would help you until you fulfill what you wanted to fulfill. So he really contributed to the youth choir, even the choirs at church.
Okay, thank you so much, Patrick. I'll just get back to you. Mrs. Mundia, what legacy do you think Father Chilinda has left behind?
Oh, he's left a big legacy in terms of the choir that I belong to. He's left a big legacy of tolerant to each other. Yes, and also being kind and understand each other's problems, even when they are failing, support them. And most of all, I think his generosity. He was very generous with his feelings and material. If you want some example, I was stuck up here in the parish because my daughter came late to collect me, and he took me all the way to my home. And it takes someone with a heart to do that kind of thing. So he's really, for me, I've got very, very fond memories of Father Chilinda. His smile, his whatever you can think of a human being that you expect from them, he had those attributes. Okay.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Mundia. So, Patrick, how would you love Father Chilinda to be remembered?
I would love Father Chilinda to be remembered as a people's person, because even when you're walking on your own, if he's driving, he would wave at you even when you're not even looking at him. He would hoot for you then, which that's Father Chilinda. He would wave at you because that was Father Chilinda. So he was a people's person. When you're around him, you would feel welcomed. Not that someone doesn't want to talk to you, but Father Chilinda would be there to show you that I'm a people's person. I can welcome you anytime, anywhere.
All right, thank you so much. So that was Patrick Mainza and Mrs. Gertrude Mundia, or St. Ignatius parishioners, and both are members of the choir. So there you have it. They have described him as a man full of generosity, peace, and love. I'll take you back to Louisa and Mangala.
More representatives from different choirs at St. Ignatius Parish. Now, Louisa, Father Chilinda had such a sense of humor. I'm sure you remember him from the office. Now, not only was he like that at the office, even here at the parish. I remember every time he was saying Mass, he would call out on Mrs. Mwangala, who he referred to as his girlfriend. That was Father Chilinda for you. You'd always want to make everybody laugh.
Laugh, exactly.
And Mrs. Mwangala is here, who happens to be,
exactly.
He would always refer to her as his girlfriend.
As a girlfriend. Yeah. All right. So speaking of Mrs. Mwangala, she's already here, and of course, Edina Piri will run us through the interview. So Edina is actually ready and to take over. So we are actually crossing over to you, Edina, as you interview Mrs. Mwangala.
Okay, thank you so much, Louisa. Joined with me here is Mrs. Mwangala, who everybody knew as Father Chilinda's girlfriend. Mrs. Mwangala, welcome to the interview.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell me, what kind of attitude would you say Father Chilinda had towards life?
Well, he was a joyful person. He was there for everybody. He didn't care whether you are rich or you are poor. He mixed with everybody.
Also, what would you say you have learned from him over the years that you have been a parishioner here?
Well, what I've learned from him was that he was a generous person. was a generous person. He was there out for, like he initiated this program of feeding the sick during Christmas time at UTH, Levi, Manawasa, and then during Easter, we'd organize the youth to go and feed the prisoners. And so he was concerned, he was there for everybody.
Now, I know that you've been a parishioner here from 1976. What are some of the footprints would you say Father Chilinda has left behind?
Well, the footprints that he has left, I am a reader at the 8:15 choir mass. And if he was the one celebrating, he didn't mention my name, then it was not complete. But every time he would mention my name, sometimes he would even ask me to stand from the congregation, to go and stand in front. So many people, those who didn't know who Mr. Mangala was, that was the time they knew, and he introduced me as his girlfriend.
Okay, thank you so much. There you have it, viewers. We have been talking about the life of Father Charles Chilinda, a true great son of the soil whose legacy will forever live on. I take you back to Louisa in Mangala.
basumabaya yangwa basumabaya bane yangwa basumabaya banagira kumushiribaya yangwa basumabaya twalela nabo banagira kumushiribaya yangwa basumabaya Muchisumi